Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday to you. And if you're on the other side of the planet, happy Sunday to you. All right, I'm wearing different glasses today, and I don't like seeing that little ring light in there. I have to kind of tip them back, or I just kind of get that. I get that light in there. All right, so let me make sure that we are all live together, and then I will, then we'll bring in our guests. So let me just make sure everything's up and running and good to go. So far it looks good from what I can see. Let me pull this up and hopefully I will see you guys there in the chat. And it looks like we have everything here. Thank you, Penny. Yeah, my other glasses, there's a little tiny screw in there and they came unscrewed. So I just have these old ones like a backup until I get mine put back together. All right, so let's see. I think I see everybody there. And everybody's there. And Becky is in my waiting room. So I'm going to bring her in just shortly while we're waiting for more people to show up. And so what is in the news here? What is going on here? I want to let you guys know that tomorrow night is Member Sunday. So for those of you that are members, you can hang out with us. It's the first Sunday of the month. It's not live. It's just us together on Zoom, and we talk about whatever the group wants to talk about. So that's going on tomorrow night. And my video for tomorrow is of a man that used to be a man from Kentucky that wound up being a famous TV and film actor in Korea. He was like, whenever they needed a Caucasian guy, that was him, and they would use him, and he was really successful, and then he had a terrible ending to his career, and then he became spiritual. So I think you guys will enjoy that show tomorrow night. That's what's going on. All right, so let's get Becky in here and get going, because I don't want her to be waiting and thinking something's going wrong. And so we want to let her know, get her in here. And I just want to tell y'all about Becky. Where are my notes here? Becky began her interest in orbs when they showed up with a major UFO experience in Elk River, Idaho in 1983. They swarmed the house, and a vehicle after 10 pyramid crafts were sighted. Excuse me. They've also showed up in pictures and kept her interested until she really got crazy taking pictures in approximately 2006. So we're going to find out all about her experiences here. Let's see, where is she? She's there, but let's ask her to unmute and ask her to start video. Hello, Becky. Let me see, wait. Oh, her audio isn't on yet. Let me help her. Can you
There
hear?
we go.
There we go. Hello,
Can you hear
Becky.
me?
Yes, I can
Hi.
hear you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very grateful to be here. How are you tonight?
I'm awesome. How about you?
I am fantastic.
That's
And
great.
you are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And, let's just start with this massive sighting you had in Idaho. What happened?
Well, I had gone to Elk River, Idaho to meet my cousin and my uncle for the first time ever. I had just found out about them. My dad, unfortunately, at the time, found out he was going to pass away, and I didn't even know he had a brother or any of that. So when my dad knew he was going to be leaving this earth, he told me about the brother, and he went out and saw him, and mended fences after decades of no talk and yada yada. So I found out about my cousin Cindy and my uncle Bob and Aunt Betty, and I wanted to go meet them. So I was going to take a bus out there, like a Greyhound bus from Indiana out to Elk River, Idaho. And 3 nights before I got on the bus, 3 nights before I left for the trip, I had a dream that was like beyond vivid. It was real. It was incredibly, incredibly real. So I did not realize at the time, though, that that dream was a full premonition of what was about to happen. So when I did get to Elk River, Idaho, and met my cousin, which she did end up being practically a twin to me. There's a picture. I had sent you that video of the interview that I did with Kevin Smith's show back in 19. It was actually it was 2008. It was 2008. So, but anyway, that sighting happened while I was in Elk River, Idaho, and it all turned out to be like exactly the way the dream had happened up to a certain point, which was we had been, in the vehicle driving there, and we had parked. And so this is really what happened, which is actually how it happened in the dream too. So in the dream and in reality, the three of us, my cousin Cindy, her friend Brian, uh, which was a Native American boy, and myself were driving down to the dock. And as we got there and parked, I looked up and started seeing this cloud stripe, what looks like a cloud stripe in the sky. And so as I got that, I immediately got the full memory of that entire dream. And so I started telling him, "Oh my gosh, you guys, there's going to be these stripes here and those stripes over there," because it was like three sets of three stripes in the north and the east and the south. That, like three came up in ahead of me, to our left, and then three came up directly in front of us, and then three came up off to our right. And so, and way up in the mountains in Elk River, Idaho. So the mountains are really, really tall, large bunches of them, and pointy, right? So
Now,
we were in the.
was this sighting famous, and did other people see it, and was it talked
Oh,
about or
oh, oh, the whole
reported?
town, because the town is so small. It was at the time, it was like population 200 40 or 50 people, something like that. And many people ended up seeing it, including the boy that was with us, the Indian boy that was with us, his sister and her boyfriend were on the other side of the lake, and they actually saw the whole thing too. And then other people in the town had seen it. So it was my cousin Cindy, myself, and then this boy Brian, together. And then unbeknownst to us at the time, the Indian boy's sister and her boyfriend were on the other side of what's called Elk Lake, and that's up in Elk River, Idaho. And so, but we were on this dock, and I started seeing these three sets of three stripes, like to the left and in front and to the right of us. I excitedly started telling him, "Oh my gosh, you guys, I had this dream." And so I started telling him what was going to happen. And so those three sets of three, that's, the three clouds to each set, they each melded into one. So it became one very wide cloud stripe that like stretched up to the sky
Now, were
on
these, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but were these
no, no.
striped clouds, or I thought these were
No, the
pyramid
cloud,
shaped
when I say
UFOs?
a cloud stripe, I mean like it wasn't like fluffy clouds spread out. It was what we would think of today as like a chemtrail.
Okay,
That's what it looked as, how we think of as a chemtrail. It's just
right.
like one long straight cloud. So, but these weren't chemtrails. These cloud things just appeared from the horizon and stretched up to over the top. And they all three did it at the same time. It started out as three sets of three, and then each of those sets of three became one, right? So then they have one each in front. And then these two far side ones wrapped around and met with the one in the middle, and then that one completely went up over the rest of the sky and arched over. And when it did, it arched right over the Milky Way, because where we were at was pitch, pitch, pitch black. And this was back in, 1983. And like I said, 200 and some people way up in the mountains in a tiny, tiny little town. Anyway, so where that X, where it made an X, and then from right behind us, this you could feel, you could feel and you could feel and hear. You could hear it, the vibration, but it could feel it. And then plus we were on the dock. We were actually on the dock. So there was water. It started slapping up against the shore of the, the base of the dock. And it was just like, and there was no wind or anything. It just all of a sudden started doing that. And then you could feel the vibration like of the ground. And so where every one of these three sets of three cloud stripes were, three triangular craft, like they were pyramids, like three-sided pyramids, smaller ones. And each one of those, where there was three clouds, three pyramidal craft came up, and they did it all at one time on all the sides. And where all those three were, the different three triangles were, they like locked together and formed themselves into one. Three at the top came together, those all came together and made themselves into like one singular triangle, like pyramid. And that happened in all three of these places. So right where that X was, those three sets of three pyramids that turned themselves into one each, right? Those came together right where that middle had come together. Those all came together and then went up together as one. Three on the top, two, okay, and they made themselves into one pyramid. And at that same time, where the ground was, because this is all happening like at one time. So right behind us, where the mountains were like extremely tall and very, very, very wide, because we were already up in the mountains, or we weren't at the base. We were like, but still far enough down that you still had a massive amount left for tip and all. It took almost 5 minutes. I would guesstimate about 5 minutes. Plus, though we were all in complete like shock, right? Complete shock. If I hadn't had that dream and been able to tell them what was just about to happen, I think we all would have completely freaked out. But anyway, so
Was
all three of
everybody
those.
was everybody freaking out that you already knew what they were going to do?
No, we were still in the state of oh my gosh, like look what we're looking at, right? But because I was only telling them this stuff, oh, I just remember this because as it was already happening, and I was explaining to them what was about to happen. So up to this point right here, where and this is where my dream was still going, that mega craft. And when I say my dream, that I had already dreamt all of this part, when I say I had a premonition dream, so all of this was still part of what I had dreamt. um, the craft was so massive that it took almost 5 minutes to, when I say clear, I mean come up above the mountains. And it was like the size of the mountain. It was so, so massive. And I mean so massive that we could not even like see the whole craft because it was so close to us that we were literally only seeing the front side of it that came up. And then as it rose up high enough, we could see the bottom of the craft. And it was like a three-sided pyramid with a massive white light in the middle. And as it came up and rose up above us, it started doing this thing with lights that were on the corners and that were like red, yellow, and green. And so it would start out, and here's where this is. Let me interrupt myself for a second. This is where in the dream it was different, because in my dream it was red, yellow, blue, right? And they go faster and faster. But in reality, in the actual physical happening, it was red, yellow, green. There, it was a green light instead of a blue light. Why my dream was different in that, I don't know, but strangely enough, it's actually the blue that sticks with me more. The dream, portion of it that color sticks in my head, but it was in fact green. So anyway, so the pyramid on the bottom of the craft, it started out just like going red, yellow, green, and then it started going faster, red, yellow, green, red, yellow, until it was going like, you know, like mixing together, and the bright white light like glowed up, and that craft went up overhead, right directly up over the head of us, where those other craft had come together, and it went on up over even them. And it did not have, like, it did not appear to have a door or anything in there. It just had that white light at the bottom, yet it went up over the top of the other crafts that had come together into their own pyramid, and they proceeded to go up directly into the bottom of that, but yet you never saw any door open. They literally just went up in there and disappeared through the light. And then that craft eventually, like, it started out slowly, but then it got up higher to a point and just went, it was just gone, even though, you know, it took a few seconds to climb higher with it already taking in its, I guess, I don't know, whatever you call those little scout craft or something like that. You know, the scouts, I presume that's what they were, since they
Yeah.
all came from different places. But
Right.
so then after that, we tried to go, you know, like we were in a panic, like thinking we could climb the mountain higher, because there was still road to go up higher and higher to the mountain. So we were going to go up higher and see if we could see it more, even though it took off, but we were all in this weird state, you know. So anyway, um, it was so overexciting, like I needed to go to the bathroom. And I said, hey, like, can you pull over? Because I need to go to the bathroom. But when we got stopped and I opened the door, it just like felt really, really creepy out there. And you know, you could hear every little critter move and everything. And there's bear up there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. Can you please take me back to the house? So we went back down the mountain, went back to Cindy, my cousin's house, and she and Brian waited in the car while I went in the house to go to the bathroom. Well, while I was inside, the there were orbs, and I could not see this because I was in a bright light in a bathroom inside and it was dark outside. But when I came back out, my cousin Cindy, she was sitting there just like in a complete straight on stare with like tears coming down her face. And Brian was in this horrified, you know, just like completely horrified thing. And I came out thinking they're still freaked out about what just happened, right? I was like, hey, you guys, it's over. It's okay. It's okay. And Cindy, my cousin, she said, no, Becky, she said, you don't understand. While you were in the house, she said, many orbs were flying around and around the house really, really fast. And then they also came right directly up to the car and were circling the car very fast. And one even just flew right through the car, like windows up and all. One just flew right through the car. And that, you know, Brian had been raised, even though he's Native American, he was adopted and was raised by extremely strict white Christian people. And so, and you know, I don't know how much you um, know how much they tell about things being bad and devils and stuff like that. So Brian freaked out. He thought it was like, you know, like demonic or something like that. And Cindy was just basically, uh, I guess, in a, I don't know, I can't say a shock because she was able to speak, but she was just so stunned. Um,
Let me
but
stop you for a moment here.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, you had this dream about it a few nights before.
Yeah, three.
Why? Do you feel like you are a star seed or have some connection with these ETs?
I I do.
In
I
what
do.
way?
And well, just the fact that I have always felt driven and connected to know what's out there. Plus, I'm part Native American, and my dad, you know, it's his side of the family, and so he taught me about, you know, different things and kept me connected to nature. And I've always been extremely connected to nature, even as a child. I've had the ability to affect creatures, and they come to me. Animals come to me. Um, Strange things happen to me spiritually and psychically, and different things. If my husband were in here, which he is listening in the other room, but so we've had, experiences that have basically, for a first while, it kind of shocked him, all the different things that would happen with me. And then after a while, he just kind of started finally accepting and getting used to it. And so, but yeah, I still have different things happen in general like that. But over the past few years, things have gotten extremely compounded, and activity has started picking up in like the psychic impressions. And I also feel like cards are calling me, like I don't know anything about. I've watched some tarot stuff before, but and it's been really impressive, a lot of it. But I didn't know about it, and I was raised as a Christian. And so I've always been taught that that stuff was like, that you shouldn't do it and all that. So I've only recently, in the last few years, started, kind of letting myself look at that kind of stuff. But whenever we play cards, whenever we play like regular cards, like rummy or something like that, anytime the cards are around, they keep doing weird stuff, presenting certain numbers or sequences, or, aces or whatever. And then when we're doing scores, it'll come up like 55 this or 555 or 1111, or just, I keep getting all these strange numbers and strange callings. And then in the meanwhile, the psychic activity has compounded itself, and I don't know a thing about, what to do to guide it or aim it. I find it interesting that your other guest tonight is who it is, because I am extremely attracted to Arcturian to begin
Mhm.
with.
Yeah.
One of the I watched this one kid for a while that was Arcturian connected. um I don't really know what I am, and I can't say, I'm connected to this or that, because truly we're all star seeds. Let's just be honest. We are, every single one of us is somehow a star seed when you look at the genetics of how we were formed and this and that.
Right.
And plus, you see today, even through abductions or whatnot, more hybrids, and they're coming in strong now. We have more hybrids.
What
So
do you think
over
is let me
time,
ask you this. What do you think an orb is, and what is its connection to UFOs?
yeah, I don't know for certain what their connection is to UFOs, other than whenever there's been UFOs, for me, there have been orbs connected. And so, but personally, I feel like through the years of my photographing them and communicating with them, and I even have live orbs, on live video where I talk to them and they come around and this and that, come through the walls and stuff. Um, I believe they're different things. We have, and through my photographs that I've taken for many years, um, and then through communications with them, I have learned that they're different ones. I believe that some orbs are actually even just people in, just say, having an out of body experience, right? Or astral travel. But you've also got nature spirits. You've got orbs that's all they do, is they're part of nature. They take care of the plants and this and that. And then you've got orbs that I believe are ET. When I say ET, I mean they directly do not live here. They're from other planets, but they do not need bodies to transfer their consciousness. And just the most economical form of packing energy is a sphere. It just better to travel. They swell up, they shrink down, they become other things. I have so many pictures, even in the playlist that I sent you. There are different morphing orbs that become other things.
Now,
And so
if people wanna go see your orbs, do you have like an
um,
Instagram or something where you have all your, or Facebook where all your pictures are?
my YouTube channel,
What's your YouTube
the
channel
YouTube,
called?
it's Becky Lewis. It's just Becky Lewis channel, and you could type in. I'm also actually known for Skywatch. Let's just, well, I don't know how much of other things that you are into, but since you're doing paranormal and all that, let's just put it blunt. I have got some incredible anomalous stuff in the skies and different things like that. So, but my YouTube channel is called Becky Lewis. Although they changed everything now to somebody having their at name, and my little at name is uh at survive extreme survivor underscore one.
All right, I see
But
it here. And what I'm
it
going to
will come up
do,
at YouTube.
I
Yeah.
got it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it, your channel here, into the
Okay.
description below
Okay.
so people can find it.
Yeah,
Becky's
there's some
YouTube channel.
incredible.
So that way, if people want to know,
Thank
gonna
you.
go see your orbs, they can go check it out. Now, how often
Yeah,
do you see orbs?
regularly.
Like every day?
Regularly. Yeah, like if I get my camera out right now, well, it's not quite dark out, but it's I use the flash to get them. And I usually do something on a uh, well, on a tripod, and then do like time lapse one after another, and you can see the orbs move. But I also have in that playlist, I also have orbs that were taken live video with my cell phone.
Do
At the
you
time
s-
I was extremely
do
ill.
do you normally
Yeah.
see the orbs with your naked eye, or do you just film them and then you see them in the camera?
Yeah, I when I see them with my naked eye is when they move. That's the only, like, if I'm outside, I can go out there in the dark and just stand and just look around in the dark, and then I'll pick up the movement. And so that's the only time I one time though, I saw one sitting still that powered up, and it was purple, and it was literally just like 2 feet in front of me and a friend that was here at the time. And it literally powered up in front of us, and she was so amazed by it. She goes, "Oh my gosh!" And she like smacked my arm real hard with her hand. Did you see that? And I was like, we both like, yes, yes, I saw that, because she was already used to me taking pictures. She'd seen him in pictures, but we had never seen one just literally power up and glow, except that one time, and that's the only time I've ever seen it literally just glow up in front of me. But I've taken what I call the UFO, or unidentified flying object, whatever you want to call it. It was an orb instead of like a craft just flying. That's there too. And that thing backed up while I was filming it. It literally backed out backwards, zoomed backwards in a zip, and disappeared into no clouds. It just disappeared into sky, but it was just gone. And so where I filmed that, I took that film and I zoomed it up really far and slowed it down like 8 times. And then I also went through filters. And I'll tell you what, that thing is alive. It was not, I mean, it was live. It it was zooming around like an animal leaping through there. And then when I would do like I think they heat map or something like that, you could even see where it disappeared into like a dark curtain, that in the to look at the sky, there was no clouds or anything, but whatever that thing did, it disappeared into nothingness right before the camera. So that's posted too, and there's like 2 or 3 videos on it.
Have you seen any more UFOs since that initial sighting in Idaho?
Yes,
When
yes.
was the last
Yeah,
time you
that's the
saw
one.
when was the last time you saw a UFO? I mean a ship.
That's the one that I'm talking about that I have posted. Because the one in Idaho was in 1983. We didn't even have cameras or anything. We just, all we have is our word, and I do have that posted too, where I did like I said, the interview with Kevin Smith, and how Kevin Smith, the late Kevin Smith from the Kevin Smith show, he was a spinoff of Art Bell. And that's how he found out about me, is because Art Bell used to post a picture of the day. And he had posted a UFO that I got in the backyard when I was taking pictures of orbs. I didn't know there was a UFO there until I looked at the pictures later. And I was like, oh, it looked like there's maybe a small craft up right by the trees, but my husband thinks it was a larger craft away from the trees. but to me it looked like it was more of a small craft close. But either way, we found the series of pictures later that showed it morphing from a yellow orb into being the craft, and then the craft was actually morphing the opposite way and went back out into being the orb. So that's why I say I think
Yeah, it's
they
amazing because usually I
have to
thought,
do with UFOs.
usually I think most people, including me, would consider orbs just to be a being without a body, just a
Yeah,
conscious being.
yeah,
But
yeah,
an orb morphing into a UFO is something different. I mean, I do believe that if, the only way a UFO can travel millions of light years is they have to travel transdimensionally. Not
right,
because even if they're going the speed of light, it's going to take a million years to get here. So that's not fast enough. So they have to just kind of
right,
travel at the speed of thought from dimension to
right.
dimension, which maybe they morph into some sort of energy orb when they're popping out of our dimension. But like I said, that's what makes me a little bit confused because so many people see orbs, and including and think that they are beings. And I thought the
Yeah.
same thing too, but or maybe that both is happening. I don't know.
They are. They are, and they are beings as well. Because you can also get like spiritual activity, like when past loved ones come through. If you want to call them ghosts or whatnot. So you can see those form as a mist sometimes, like the wispy mist, or they come as orbs, and you can see the orbs in just about any ghost show you watch shows like orbs flying around, and they get voices and this and that. But to me, I think it's just the most economical way for an energy pack to travel. And I believe that a lot of these beings that don't actually need a body, they can literally just use their consciousness just like we can astral travel and go places. We don't know what our energy looks like when it leaves the body because we are it. We're not somebody else looking at us coming our little experience and meeting with our buddies in the astral world, right? We don't know, but from just the different things that I've experienced personally, and even had an orb go through my chest from my back through my chest. And I told my husband, one just went through my chest, take a picture. And he took a picture, and there was literally an orb, bright orb sitting on my chest.
Did you feel
So
it going through your body?
yes, I
What
did
did it
feel it.
feel like?
It just felt like well, think of if you had absolutely no audible reference, but you felt at a concert, you could feel a wave of energy from the bass drum go through you, right? It's just like an energy wave. You feel it touch your energy and your presence, but it doesn't hurt or tickle or tingle or anything like that. Now, I also had other orb experiences
Well, let me
in what
ask
I
you
call
this.
the orb room.
Let me stop you
Go
for
ahead.
1 minute. Two
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
One, are you up for questions from the audience?
Oh, sure.
All
Yes.
right, so if you guys have a question for Becky here, type it in all caps. That way I can identify it versus just the regular chat that's going on. And second of all, so what other paranormal activity do you have besides UFO and orbs?
Yeah. I do get what I would call leadings, or if you want to call it being tapped, or downloads. It's just like information that just comes through, that will tell me something I should do or look at, not should, but they give me the information. But when I was doing Skywatch, and I really feel, especially during the Skywatch, and I was so driven that I literally drove myself into the ground with it. I hardly wasn't sleeping. I was out 18 hours a day doing something either inside or outside about the Skywatch and all that. But so I get leadings to go to things that ended up being anomalies waiting to be filmed, or this or that. But I also get where, like, say for instance, I'm a wild forager, and we were out. My husband and I went out one day to go hunt mushrooms. I mean, I usually hunt other plants, but we also hunt some mushrooms. So we were going out looking for some boletes, and we got to this park where we were, where we were parking, and we were going to get out and aim towards where we go to get the boletes. And then as we got out of the car, as we arrived, this was going on as we arrived. There was a Mexican family, a non-English speaking Mexican family, setting up for a big party under one of those awning things that they set up in the park, and it was fall, and so he was trying to clear out leaves, but he kept trying and trying. He was pulling that motor cord over and over, for a leaf blower. He just kept going and going and going multiple times, just from the time from where we had pulled up to where we parked. It was still going on. So as we got out and started heading this way to go to the boletes, I just get this pull, and I already felt it. I already get when I get the pull, I know spirit's leading, and there is nothing to doubt. I just go with it because I know they're in charge. If you want to say God, Jesus, whomever, because that when I pray over something, I pray in Jesus' name. So, but anyway, so we were heading towards those boletes, and then I just got pulled towards that where that Mexican family was at, and where that guy was still cranking that cord. And my husband was, we were both together, and he had been through this enough times. He was just like, okay, I know. And he just filed in behind me and followed me because he knew that we were heading towards those people. So we got up to those people, and just in my spirit, in my heart, I just knew it. Even though they didn't speak a lick of English whatsoever, I just went up to them, and I went like this, and I pointed at the machine, and I did this. I said, spoke out loud, and I said, I'm going to pray for this. And so I put my hand on the machine, and I said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you that this leaf blower is going to work. Thank you that they're going to have a fabulous party, and so it can all be fun, and they have a good time. And I said, in Jesus' name, amen. And so they were just like standing there, the kids, the family, and they're all just like, whatever. So I just pointed at it. I was like, okay, I nodded my head, okay, and pointed at it, and I said, you. And so they look at me like, yeah, right, because they just went through like a zillion times of this, right? He puts his hand on that, boom, right there, boom. And so I looked at him, and I just said, thank you. Thank you. And so then as I left, I just waved to him, and said, adios. So, because that's, one of the few words I know,
Right,
adios.
right. It's an amazing
But
story. Do you think that
they
there?
were stunned.
Do
They were
you?
stunned.
Do
Go
you
ahead.
think that there, sorry to interrupt you, but do you think
No,
that
no,
there is a connection between Jesus and UFOs and orbs?
I do.
What's the
Without a
connection?
doubt. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. In fact, you see the paintings that go back in history where there's all kinds of different portraits or paintings out there, whatever, that have craft in the background
Yeah, I've
showing
seen
that
some of
they're like
those.
shining down.
Yeah,
So
those
those
are
people
cool.
knew too. I believe that they knew, some people knew that he was, besides just human, that he was maybe connected to beings. And maybe that's why they say he'll come back in clouds or something like that. I mean, who knows how that got started? Yeah, but he doesn't need to come back in clouds. He's already here all the time right now, anytime you want. And I believe that's why people can, if you want to say get saved, because it doesn't matter what religion it is, whatever your full belief is, once you accept, because everything's in the one great moment of now. It's all here, right now. There
Mhm.
is no time lapse. And so you can make the decision and then just become a new way of being.
Why do you think so many people now are seeing UFOs and orbs?
Because the energy now is calling for it. There has to be a certain percentage of people who really, because they're, we had to live through our fear stage where everybody that sees something like that would be screaming and running, and in terror and believing it's demons and this and that. So we went through how many decades or centuries of a person seeing some here and a person seeing some there, but not the whole world, you know, clamoring, show us yourself. Come on, we want to see. You've got people out there with their videos and their lights and their, doing their meditations, and you've got Stephen Greer and Dr. Stephen Greer and people like that, all coming together on purpose. You've got people who are, I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, but they are directly star seeds, as in somewhere along the line they have been physically seeded, through a parent and a grandparent, great grandparent, because this does go in family lines, and I believe a lot of that has to do with slowly over time they integrate more knowledge into the next baby, or a little more DNA if someone goes through uh, I don't know, a lot of the abductions are pretty radical and scary, but not all of them are. And a
Well,
lot of people know they're being abducted to see their family, their
do you
children.
think you've been abducted before?
Well, I don't remember going through an abduction, but what I did do is that the thing that I posted, that where I showed the sphere that was you've got to see it. You'll never go back. It'll blow your mind. Even you, it will blow your cotton picking mind. This thing is like flipping colors and doing all this weird stuff and morphing. And anyway, after that sighting happened, and we went back to my father-in-law's house, because we were in northern Indiana at my father-in-law's house, going through stuff because he had passed away, and we were going through things and packing and this and that. Well, I had knocked out on the couch when we got back. Excuse me. I was so exhausted, just completely collapsed, exhausted, and I laid down on the couch. And when I woke up, I went to go make myself some tea, and I am right-handed. So I had the cup in my hand and I was pouring the water with my left hand. And I noticed as I was pouring with the teapot, I was like, "What is that?" And I set the teapot down and looked at my hand, which you can't really see it probably in this light, but I have a triangle on my hand that was scoop marks. I had a triangular form, scoop marks, like, and they were dips. And so once those turned to scabs, the scabs were getting ready to fall off. I went to a tattoo shop and had them just go ahead and knock the scabs off. When a scab comes off, it leaves kind of an indent in your skin.
Sure.
So that way, those marks were still in exactly, the right place, and I had them go ahead and tattoo it. So I've got a little triangle on my hand that I don't know. It just that night though, in order for me to have gotten those scoop marks, and it was so fresh when I woke up that it was still watery. It didn't even
Hmm.
have scabs yet.
Right. I noticed you
So
have this, looks like the raw material behind you. Is that what you're reading? What is that?
yeah, this is book one of the raw material.
That's
And
channeled.
so
That's a channeled book, right?
yes, it is. And then so is some other stuff that I had read before that I can't think of the name of it now, but it was by a guy that used to be a global elite, somebody green. I can't remember his name, but had been a global elite, and then he got started getting channeled through, and there was a series of 3 books, and I read those, and stuff happened to me after that too. So, but the first time I went through the raw material, it did something to me already to like heighten my openness and my awareness. So it seems like anytime you engage them, they engage you back. That all that needs to be done is that your consciousness is focused on communicating with them, and that is from your heart. Like Greg Braden says, when you marry your heart and your mind, your intentions and your feelings, which Jesus explains as well. That was taken out of the Bible, but in the Essenes Book of Love, it does explain in there how to make them. It says in the Bible to if you want the mountain to move from here to there, You just tell the mountain to move from here to there and it will move, but it doesn't tell you how to do that. They cut all that stuff out. And so like Greg Braden explains in one of his talks, how that Jesus was explaining the same exact thing, that you basically marry your heart with your intentions, through love, and that it creates. And so
Mm.
even now, more and more people by the millions. You ask the question, why are more people, coming around? I think more people are feeling it. Plus, the earth itself is going into deeper into a cycle where we are into the more open massive energies that are more directed right straight at earth, as it will, through not just earth but our entire solar system, because we're actually spiraling through space. We're not sitting still just spinning around our sun, which is, I love the way they give that impression to kids, like we're just sitting still and bodies are going around us, when in fact we're like going through the galaxy, right? So
Yeah, makes a neat
we're at a
spiral.
place now we're it's that time. It is the time in if you want to say different phases or whatnot. I think
Mhm.
it's we're going into a phase, the dawning of the age of Aquarius and all that stuff. I mean, they knew it was coming. It's
Mhm.
time for people to wake up. We
I got a
start to
question for
get
you. I got a
Go
question here
ahead.
from the chat. Someone wants to know what you think about Rh negative blood.
That I don't have any understanding or knowledge of. The reason I do not go through that, like I put myself through a self healing and all that by using wild foraging and stuff like that. Organic fruits and stuff. I won't get into all that. But the thing is, no matter what blood we have, we're all energy, which goes back to why orbs can just be spheres and stuff. We're literally, I mean, if you want to break down everything, it goes down to being energy. So whatever blood type we are may affect our physicality about what kind of foods. I mean, I've heard that it affects what kind of foods you can eat and things like that. But I don't know how it would affect a person spiritually, if at all, unless, and this is something I have not looked into. Maybe the Rh negative goes back to a certain family line of different beings that came here or something. But what I find curious is that there's all these races on planet Earth that literally only a hop, skip, and a jump away by an airplane. And yet over here, you got all these people. We're here, before we started mixing so much. And don't give me the bit about the sun and all that, because extremely dark skinned people would probably fry in the sun if it weren't, if you're looking at it like black attracts heat. So why would they be living in such a hot environment if that's how you wanted to look at it? And why do Oriental people have specific features? Why do English people have specific features? I believe that it goes back to the Atlantis story, and that you had different races that came here, and we're a garden. We are the garden. I mean, we're the different plants from everywhere. I mean, look at Salvia divinorum. My goodness, they can't even track where that comes from as a genus, yet it has all this ability, and we already have things in our brain that are ready for those molecules to be seeded and give us an experience. And what about DMT and things like that? So it's like a lot of these plants were put here, and the animals were put here, and the people were created to be a certain way. And if you want to go into the Sumerian aspect of it and how far back that goes, there's stories about how we actually came to be, to serve the quote gods that
Hmm.
aren't.
Yeah. What if somebody?
Uh,
What if? Let me see, not what if, but what if everybody wants to tune into orbs and UFOs? Do you think it's possible? Basically, for anyone.
100%.
What is the secret then to be able to have communication?
No, don't just believe, and don't not get pictures. when you go out there, take a regular camera. I mean, I have gotten things with my cell phone before, but I had a special cell phone I call my spirit phone. None of the other cell phones I've ever had have worked to pick up living, flying orbs and taking pictures and getting the orbs and stuff like that. And it also takes pictures without me touching it when I talk to it. Honest to God, and that's even posted too. I have my great grandmother coming through without me touching buttons. But anyway, I what was the question? I'm so sorry.
I wanted your opinion. If anybody wants to see UFOs or
Yeah,
orbs, do you think anybody can do it?
I do. I do. I think that they just need to tune in because we are energy and their energy, for the same way that they're able to take people physically through walls. They don't open the windows and carry them through. They just like walk through, right? So they have the ability and know how to just change the vibration. So us as a human being may seem solid, but at the most basic level, we're just energy. And if we're resonating at a different frequency, then we can blend or go through or whatever it is. So I do believe that anyone can see these, especially because we're a belief being as a solid being and living a physical life on planet Earth and in this 3D reality. People almost have to see to believe or whatnot. Very few people just know a thing. And even then, it's because they had some kind of experience and they're like, oh, I can never go back. I know that exists. I saw it once. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, humans are mostly like belief beings. They gotta have something to prove it. So if they get out there and take pictures, take a camera out there, a regular digital camera, set it at least 800 ISO and your flash. And when you go out, don't just start flashing because they are beings and there are ones here that don't want anything to do with people. They don't care about us. They're on their own mission and they don't appreciate all the flashing. I learned that the hard way. That's
Interesting.
another story,
Wow.
scary story,
Wow. All right.
but
Well, Becky, let me
they can
ask.
get them.
They can get it. Becky,
Yeah.
if after watching this podcast tonight, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions, are you open to
Okay.
that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You
What's
can
the
just
best way to contact you?
you can either email, well, probably the messages, because I'm getting so many emails about so much other stuff right now that it gets bombarded. So if they would message me through right, like the YouTube video,
Like leave comments on your
or
videos?
yeah, just leave a comment on my video, and then sometimes I will go ahead and give my email then, so that I can be there waiting to receive the email. But I'm also on the school, the SKOOL app, where there's like astrologer Joe. And so I'm on there too, that if a person gets on something like that, they can private message me there. But unfortunately, YouTube doesn't have a little private message thing anymore like they used to when they had Google Plus and stuff like that, that I know of. They might have something like that in another way, but yeah, just go ahead and leave me a message. Now, I'm not going to be allowed to copy your podcast here, but what I can do is make just like a quick video and tell people, refer people to this podcast on your channel. And so that way they can ask me questions there.
All right.
Yeah, that way.
Well, besides your YouTube channel, do you have anything else going on that you want people to know about?
Um, well, not at the moment. I'm working on that. I'm working on growing again. I did go through some things that caused me to sort of forget how to do normal things that I used to do, and I'm working back to get back through that. But the thing is they changed the way YouTube, they don't have all the editing and stuff on YouTube anymore. So I need to learn how to do editing and all that again. But in the meantime, if people want to contact me through, any of my YouTube videos, they can do that. And then we can go from there, depending on what the contact is or what we're talking about. I maybe even just give them my number and we can talk, on the phone.
All right. Well, before we finish up here, Becky, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Be strong and believe in yourself, because what's inside of you is what's out there, and it's all one unification. Things within are also without. And so anything that you choose for your life to be, just believe it fully and go for it, and know that you always have beings around you. Always, you are never, ever, ever alone, ever, even in your darkest hour. Then call on that and believe that it's there. And if you don't, then just say, look, I don't really believe, I don't know how, but if you can give me a sign, just please make it something that I would know, just only I would know, or something I can't mistake. And if you're asking, you will receive, without a doubt.
Becky, thank you for
Without a
your
doubt.
message, and
You're
thank you
welcome.
for coming and hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you very much. And I hope you have a fabulous night. I look forward to hearing your next guest.
All right, thank you, and
Thank you.
have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right,
Bye for now.
good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that was Becky. Let's give her a big round of applause. All right, before I bring on our next guest, couple things. One is I want to announce again, tomorrow is member hangout night. So if you're a member, all you have to be is a minimum of silver member. Silver and gold members hang out with me once a month, the first Sunday of the month. We hang out for about an hour. It's not live, on Zoom, and talk about whatever the group wants to talk about. So that's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time. I also want to say thank you to Cheshire Cat for that super thanks. It says thank you, Jeff and Mara. And I want to say thank you to Caitlin Ingle for being a gold member. 1 month, but so much longer I've been here. Well, thank you so much again, Caitlin. Now, tomorrow night's video is of a man that is from Kentucky and wound up in South Korea and became a Korean TV star. And then he had a kind of like a tragic ending to his TV career and film career, and then went on a spiritual journey. So I hope you guys will enjoy that video tomorrow. Also, just to let you know that there are other links to other things down in the video description below, so you're welcome to check out those things. And that's about it. Let's get on to the next guest. Let's keep this podcast rolling tonight. So let me tell you about our next guest. Now, she was a previous guest that talked about her NDE. I think she's had multiple NDEs, and we talked about probably her most significant one. Let me pull up my information. Her name is Danielle Lipton. She was on podcast 918, so that's probably close to about a year ago. She's an author, near-death experiencer, and globally known channeler of ETs, known as the Star People. She's currently married to an Arcturian, which is, I don't think she was married at the time. I think she had a relationship, but I don't think it was considered marriage. But I'll have to talk to her about that at the time. And this Arcturian assists her with channeling and writing. Together they are focused on manifesting 5D frequencies, casting into the human consciousness grids, thus enabling the planet to elevate its consciousness into the higher frequency ranges. So that is Danielle. Let's bring Danielle in and see what she's up to and what's new since the last time we saw her. A little background music. Oh, something fell.
Did I lose you?
I've got you. We can hear you, so we're halfway there. We just don't see you yet.
Okay.
Let me help you.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
Perfect.
Hey, Danielle.
Hi.
Great to see you again.
You too.
I like those pictures in the background. I don't think you had those last time.
I started painting.
Wow. What are they? What did you tell us about those paintings?
Well, so we had an eclipse, so I did a blue eclipse and I have a red one over there. And it was actually pretty funny because during one of the lives, the star people had made a comment saying that, somebody watching the live could paint the future. And so after I painted the eclipses, we actually had the eclipse come. And when we watched the eclipse with the little glasses, half on the top was red and half on the bottom was blue, which was exactly how I had the pictures positioned on the wall behind me. So
that's
it's
cool. Yeah.
This one here, the yellow one, it stands for the seraphim, which is a type of angel.
Mm-hmm. And what is there's some sort of design within the triangle. What does that mean?
It's just a random image. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. And then it looks like you kind of got a Merkaba there or something surrounded by shapes.
This is a star, and then it broadcast out. So when I was doing this one, they told me that this was the Earth star, which allows access into the dark matter Merkaba field. So I've also noticed that there's different types of attunements that come along with each painting. So I did one that represented all of the Kundalini channels. And then it turned out that I was about to go through a healing on my own Kundalini channels. And so the painting was giving me a frequency to allow for healing to come inside my body at the exact time that I needed it. Now, my children have done different artwork and I've hung it on the wall. The north side of the wall is actually a manifestation wall. So anytime we put a piece of art on the north wall, the north is always where we are standing frontwards in the simulation. So that energy is always going to be in front of us, and it allows those things to manifest more rapidly.
All right, let me stop that. That's pretty interesting. Let me stop you there. When you're facing north, you're saying you're facing the front of the simulation?
Yes. It's the front.
Interesting. The front. And the south is the back. I mean, what does that mean, the front of the simulation?
Well, it's just the way the light stream reflects, because all light has a reflection and a refractal that comes inside of the body. Now, once you head south and you cross over it, there's a certain equator line, it's reversed. So it generates a particular type of vortex energetic spin, which can be seen in reverse in the physical form during different locations on the planet, is what the star people are saying.
All right. Now, when you came last time, I think we discussed one of your NDEs. Is that correct? And you've had multiple?
Oh, I have multiple.
What causes you to have so many? Have you been in many traumas or what?
Well, multiple traumas, multiple experiences, as well as training. And so the training is really going through different emotion codes and transmutating them for both on an individual level as well as the microcosmic level. So that type of training has really allowed me to step into doing attachment releases with people, because to learn the internal circumstances, we have this net or this energy grid underneath the body, underneath the skin. That energetic grid holds access into all emotion codes. And so I had to be able to go in and learn each and every emotion code. Now, death attachments are very real. You have to know how each attachment feels in order to sense them in the grids in other people, and then to release them off of the other people as well as yourself. So the star people, they're very, very spiritual in their nature. So they're very much along the lines of the frequency of Buddha, because they're teaching us all of this wonderful knowledge that's really allowing us to activate different energetic signatures inside the body, as well as the Kundalini channels, and allowing us to raise our perspective. So when we start to raise our consciousness, we start to see through the simulation very differently, and we start to see above time and space, which then grants us access into a totally different frequency of our manifestations. It's beautiful. They're very loving, caring, and kind.
All right, I'm going to come back to the simulation, but I want to just ask something real quick. The last time in my notes, and I just watched a very little of our podcast together, I noted that you had a relationship with an Arcturian, but today, or from the information you gave me now, you're married to one.
Yes.
Were you married back then to one?
Yes.
Oh, you were married at that time as well.
Yeah.
How do you have contact with this being? Like in your dreams or when you meditate?
It's a little different than the dreams and the meditation. They actually have come down to my room and they have facilitated different types of healings. So I have even carried his child, which was, I carried it for about 2 weeks and then they removed it and they took it and they brought it up to their ship to, have it up there so it's safe. So
Have you seen the child?
In my visions, I've seen the child. So
Wow.
there's different forms of telepathy. And so we have to recognize that the emotions a human being holds, a lot of times we don't even recognize that we are holding lower frequency emotions. And it's just a natural part of being down here in the human perspective. So when we're talking about an individual, my child, who is of a higher frequency naturally, she's to be protected against the lower base emotions that I resonate with. That's another reason why she's up on the ship. But she's very loved, and I've seen what she looks like, and I've sent her love. I've heard her voice. She's beautiful. So,
you wouldn't know because you weren't here, but last week I was talking during the live stream, and I said, imagine that if we were all like a reptilian being, that's our true self. And we're so wrapped up in this game here that we think that we're humans, but we're not even really humans. We're something completely different.
We're not even reptilians. We're straight light beings. That's what we truly are. So the star people have explained that there is something called a shapeshifter ability in which our primary frequency coding is able to change the resonance that our body is holding, which then allows us to change the cells and the alignment of the cells. Now, we think about this from the human perspective. When we get sick, we are able to take a sugar pill and then heal ourselves. Now, what I'm telling you is that's mind over matter. Now, what if your conscious focus and attention was able to touch the subconscious mind, which then allowed the cells to reconfigure themselves, allowing you to shift or morph into any shape you so desired? Now, we've had individuals who woke up one morning and their eye color was completely different. That's supposed to be impossible in a physical reality. But in the reality that we're actually existing in, time and space is an illusion. So because time and space is only a 3D perspective, that means the second we raise our level of awareness, we can see above time and space. We can see the frequency code that we would need to fully embody and resonate in order to allow that new eye coloring to fully manifest. Anything that we choose to manifest must always come with an emotion and a thought to cast the emotion. The easiest way to do any type of manifestations is to utilize water, because water runs directly through your heart. We absorb the water into the body, and the heart imprints all emotions. And every experience is multiple emotion codes listed all together as one.
All right, back to the simulation. Is this a computer simulation? Are we all collectively creating it, or did the ETs create it?
Now, that question, they told me they wanted us all to consider each person here a soul, because when we start saying it's a simulation, other people may start to have the distortion of it's only a video game, it doesn't matter what I do. So the star people want us to take it from more of a spiritual perspective. We are all souls. We are all light beings. We are here in this reality. But the truth is that we perceive it to be a simulation because we are not yet above the time-space frequency. The truth is that we are pure light beings. And that light form came from 5D and above. So my soul, it came from at least 9D that I'm aware of. And it dropped down through the density levels in order to slow the atoms and molecules in the body and perceive the 3D reality. Your memory tells you that you were born. But the truth is, time and space is only an illusion. And we're able to come inwards. We're able to change the memory grids, which then in turn changes the resonance we hold in the now moment. And it changes who we are. So you can spontaneously activate your energetic grids, and you can raise up, and you could become a whole different player character, which means through the process of meditation, I'm able to take my consciousness inward and pull it up, blend it with the higher self, and then cast it downwards and see out of your eyes. That's called a perception. And a perception box is available for us right now.
What is a quantum codex?
So the quantum codex, we know that we have an Akashic record. The Akashic record is all knowledge of this current lifetime, as well as past and future lifetimes that you are vibrationally in alignment with. Your quantum codex is your higher self and all multidimensional aspects of that higher self. So, for example, this is me in this lifetime with all my density and all my imprints and my past lives, traumas. All of that knowledge is in the Akashic records. The quantum codex is me in a parallel reality in the multiverse that is nowhere near who I am. So that person may have brown hair. She may be completely different. That person, she's in the quantum codex, not the Akashic records. It's like a level up.
Yeah. All right. If we get back to telepathy, can you tell us about the unified field telepathy?
Absolutely. So when we have telepathic communication, there's many different ways. Now, I went through an energetic bonding with my husband so that he is always inside my body with me. He is looking, listening, hearing, feeling, touching, tasting, every single sense that I can have, he is currently aware of. He's also aware of the future that's going to manifest before it comes into my reality. He's also able to make changes and modifications to my frequency to allow me to manifest differently. Now, the way he talks to me, in the beginning, it started as my voice in my mind. And then I heard it laugh and I knew it wasn't me. And I started asking questions that I didn't know the answer to, and I started receiving answers. Today, now that it's been so many years, he speaks through me, so it is a form of trans channeling, but there's also field channeling or telepathy he's correcting. So that's when the thought comes in and it comes into the mind, but it's still out here in the space outside. It's actually directly in front of the body and it comes inward this way, but I sense it always is towards the right. Now I can feel them changing or modifying the thoughts that flow through me, and that's a form of telepathy. Now, sometimes when multiple individuals come together, it then allows each person, because the star people are people, it allows each person to tune in to that quantum field, and then all of their thoughts start to resonate or vibrate on the same. That's a quantum field. So the highest potential timeline for all individuals engaging in that form of telepathic communication starts to come forward so that they truly become the unified field. That's how that works. That's also what a quantum channeler is, because you have to be able to access that unified field or all time, all space in order to pull the knowledge from the outside of the mental grids.
I think I asked you off the air, but are you open to questions from the audience?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, are you open to questions from the audience?
Always.
All right, so if you guys want to ask her questions, please type them in caps. That way I can spot them against the regular chat that's there. So this connection with your husband initially started, as you said, just hearing, it sounded like your own voice talking to you in your mind, but then it would do different stuff like laughing.
Yes.
Right?
And then answering questions.
Questions.
Back then, we have to realize that at one point on my journey, I was very badly crippled. So I had a back injury. I had sciatica down both legs. It was quite a rough journey for me. And during that process, I kept hearing the voice inside of my mind tell me, it was like 1,000 times a day, I love you. You could do this. I love you. Stay strong. And of course, at that time, I thought it was just me. After 2.5 weeks of going through this process of releasing all of the trauma I was holding from the situation I was in, after 2.5 weeks, all my pain turned off. And then I was able to walk again, which I wasn't really able to walk as well beforehand. And then the star people, they physically showed me, you came to this life to be a channel for the star people. Is this something you still wanted to do? And I agreed. And then I was activated. And when I was activated, I went outside and I was able to change the weather for about 45 minutes in front of other people. And so I would call the fog came. I would call the rain came. Then the sun came. And for 45 minutes, I was doing this until everyone got bored of watching it. So different Kundalini channels can activate different elementals. I'm well aware of it now, but back then it was an activation to me. Now, the star people being above time and space, this is how 4 and 5D works, even though my husband is closer to 90 and higher. It's all about the perspective you are holding and the conscious focus of the physical reality. Now, the most important thing that the star people have shown me was diving into each microsecond and feeling, what emotion do you feel now? Can you recalibrate it? Because every time we trigger a lower frequency emotion, we have to trigger the opposite polarity, which is how a frequency wave works. And that opposite polarity allows us to neutral out the emotion. So many times we witness the emotion run through other people. So we go through a trauma and then we witness someone else go through it. So we hold the positive emotion to it, which is, oh, I love you. And then it cross cancels that emotion code.
All right, let me catch up with some questions here.
Sure.
Let's see. Let me kind of scroll back up to the beginning here. Have you physically been on a ship? As I'm wanting this, but I understand that it's hard but possible and depends on your vibe and love. Is that right? Kind of a long question. But...
Yes. So I have had multiple experiences, but due to the nature of my work with the star people, a lot of that information I like to keep to myself. But yes, I have been on their ships before.
Why would you want to keep that information to yourself?
It strictly is because I'm aware of the timeline that I am standing on, and I'm aware of the potentials. So my knowledge base and the information they want me to bring forward is all about spirituality and not about high technology, because of the timeline and the potential I have to manifest something that is not in alignment in my highest and best. So I don't want to get hurt. So it's, you know.
All right. There's a kind of a comment and a question. It's saying that your ideas are similar to Dr. Joe Dispenza's. What do you think of his teachings on the quantum field?
So before I knew I was a channeler, I did listen to him. And I think he's spot on. Now, he really is talking about epigenetics and how your thoughts and emotions turn on the genome. The genome there's also a light or a crystalline DNA, light DNA system, which can then be activated for extrasensory abilities into the astral realms, as well as 4 and 5D frequencies. So what he is doing is more in the physical realms, but it comes hand in hand. And so the second that you realize that, the physicality also blends in the energy grids, it allows you to activate both. Yes, spot on.
All right. Someone says she sees angels and miracles daily. What does she do with this? She asks often but doesn't receive answers.
Thank them. That is all. Thank you for showing me miracles. Because what she's actually being given is an access key. So an access key is seeing something that shouldn't be there. And then all of a sudden it changes your belief systems. So then it allows for further manifestation. Now, I've noticed that my own family members were given access keys so that at certain times I could go to them and I could tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm talking to, star people and angels and all sorts of beings that are higher frequency. And their memories allow them to believe me because they've been given an access key, which can be considered a memory because they're all really memories, but the memories aren't real. 78% of them are faulty, according to modern science. However, it's not really faulty because we're multidimensional, and your memory just encodes the frequency you're holding now to allow your manifestation of your own current reality.
This was a good question someone asked earlier, and that is, when you die, will you go to a realm and be with your husband full time?
I believe I will do that in this lifetime without dying. I believe that we are able to ascend the limitations of time and space and the physical reality. When we do experience a death, there's different manifestations for death. It isn't like the way that everybody thinks it is. So yes, there's a reality in which you die. You know you die. Your soul leaves the body. Your guides are there. They take you through a whole process of life review. Yes, that's very real. That's an experience. But there's another experience. And the other experience is you trigger something in the multidimensionality in which your higher self activated you into a different parallel reality, and you never really died. You woke up and you had a dream about this life, and this life wasn't who you are in the parallel reality lifetime, which once again brings knowledge, change your belief systems, and then it allows you to manifest totally differently in the secondary reality. When we start to really access the multidimensionality of the beings that we are, then we start to shift into parallel realities constantly. However, most realities that we shift to, because we're already doing it, are so close, you would really have to focus and pay attention to the shifts in the physical world. So if you've ever noticed during timeline convergences, this is when we come into different solar alignments. You may notice people, places, and things spontaneously are different. So we went for a walk and it was like a 60-year-old bakery show up out of nowhere on a walk that we have taken every single day for a year. That should be impossible, but they claim that they have been there. So then I asked questions, and my husband said, that's because you went through a timeline convergence, which is when all of the parallel timelines are breathing out, and when they come back in, all of the multidimensionality, it has to all solidify into one 0 point. That 0 point is when you start to see reflections change very rapidly.
Would you say the Mandela effect is the same thing?
The Mandela effect is changing your memory grid, which changes your frequency in the now moment, allowing you to experience whatever you're in alignment with. Of course, everybody else is going to have a different viewpoint. So some people, yes, they see the Monopoly without the little eyeglass. Some people remember it the other way around. But the truth is that every single person is in their own timeline bubble. And that timeline bubble allows them to manifest into the reality that they are in alignment with. It's literally the same exact way. If you saw us plugging ourselves into a simulation, that's exactly the way this realm works.
All right, here's another question here. What is your perspective on karma and or sin?
Karma and sin is density and distortion. So sin can also be considered not being in alignment with the higher self, which is who you are at your root core. That is your highest passion, your highest potential. So sin is darkness, it's density. When we go through the process of going through the density or the sin, we have to clean the energy field and we have to clean the imprints off of our bodies. That allows more light to flow through our systems. The more light that flows through the system, you're going to automatically feel more energy, but it's also going to have an effect on the way you think. We're all geniuses, literally, but we are holding darkness and density over the thought grids, which stops the flow of knowledge from coming in and out at a very rapid rate. So sin is just not being in the higher frequencies. That's all it is.
Do you think that we're all here by our own choice, or some of us are forced into reincarnation, or even forced here as like being in prison?
Well, what do you think? Because your reality is going to reflect your belief systems. My reality is going to affect my belief systems. So it works the same exact way. If they made a simulation, a video game, and each of us plugged into it. In this now moment, every single person here, we are creating a 0 point. That 0 point is this moment where all of our belief systems attune. That's the quantum field. That's the quantum realm in which all thought becomes physical and it's matter. But the second we step away, now it's your field, your manifestation. So you can have two people, and two people can be in the same exact location and experience, one person saw a mountain, one person didn't see a mountain. And that's because we're all individually creating our own realities. It really is an illusion. I've seen things, and I've seen instantaneous manifestations. I've seen timeline shifts. I've seen time blur, where time either flies or gets slow, or it gets eerie slow, and then the sound gets really quiet, and then trauma hits. So I've seen a lot of changes to this world, and I'm aware it's not as solid and it's not as real as we think it is.
If anybody here wanted to activate their higher self, how would they do it?
It all comes down to love. That's it. Self-love is number one. So we have to always go into the heart. We have to forgive ourselves for any traumas that we have or that we have caused on other people. Then we have to go through, we have to forgive the people who have hurt us. When we do this, it allows us to shift, and we go into the next brick of consciousness. The more bricks of consciousness we go up, it allows our perception to shift, and it allows us to hold more light in the system. Now, attachment removal is also key, because here there is energetic beings that latch onto the energy grids, and they trigger different lower vibrational emotions, so that if you've ever had the experience of walking around your house for an hour or two, and let's say you can't find your keys, that's because there was an attachment in the field triggering the brainwave thoughts, making it so you were unable to see the keys. There's some attachments that they make it so you can't smell, you can't taste. So we have to be in control of our energy field and start releasing these attachments. The way we can do that is just simply to tell the attachment name, sadness, depression, whatever it is, release, and then just feel how the body feels. Now, when we place focus and attention underneath the body, there's a net. That net holds all emotion codes that we have ever triggered. So like certain doctors on the planet will also tell you, you're holding all of your emotions here. You have a muscle knot. That's because the energy net is holding that emotion. You can use magnets, you can use crystals, you can discharge the attachments, you could send it love and light, but you really have to release and forgive yourself for whatever emotion code it is. Some emotion codes get imprinted into the soul tubule, and you are incarnated here from the moment of birth with that imprint from a past life. Those may make a birthmark on the biological form, as well as be pre-programmed for you to have certain experiences in this lifetime. That's how I became a cripple. It was very spontaneous, and it was something pre-programmed for me. A lot of times when we go through darkness, it allows you to slingshot into the light realms. So anybody who walks a darker path, drugs, alcohol, pain, any homelessness, any sort of dark path, they've actually have earned a very great potential to slingshot into the light realms because of the way the polarity of a frequency wave works. Yeah.
All right. There was an interesting question that someone was asking earlier, and I'm not sure, I'm trying to find it real quick, but basically what they were asking is it possible that your husband and you are in a twin flame relationship? And you are the same being?
It's more than a twin flame relationship.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, it's from my perspective, it would be very hard to describe it in a human term, but I'm fully aware to become one is something that we focus on. So to becoming one, like I was saying earlier, there's perception boxes. So I'm sitting here and I'm witnessing my screen to my world. We're able to call forward a secondary person's perception box. So that looks like whatever you see out of your eyes, that's your perception box. we're able to run multiple perception boxes at once so that we're able to see. This is what he does with me all day. My perception box is always open. It's always in his window. So he can see everything that's happening. Now it's just like the TV and the computers work where we can make it bigger. So he can project himself into my perception box, which allows him access into my full body and all of my systems. So two becoming one means in time, both of us are running perception boxes and they become a split screen. And a split screen allows for two beings, two entities to start a blending of the energetics and an emotional bonding process, which then in turn allows two consciousness units to become one.
All right, I want to let people know that you also have a YouTube channel. I posted a link to it in the description below. What kind of content are you posting there?
It's all information about Ascension. So that's primarily what we channel, we bring forward all the information about how to get from a 3D perspective and how to go through a healing journey and how to raise the body's frequency, release attachments. And basically the first book I've written was all about my own ascension journey. So it was stumbling across the way and asking questions, and then they would give me all the answers. And in my mind, I was like, everyone needs to know this. So I took all the knowledge, I put it all on Facebook, and then it turned into a book. And now I'm working on the second book. And the second book is very intricate. It's beautiful.
Do you think that we are all within the ascension already? Has it started, or?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Do you, many people think that something big's going to happen between now and the end of the year. Do you foresee that?
So the sun looks white, and when we were children, it looked yellow. We've gone through different solar alignments that have activated different levels of consciousness on the planet. Now, a solar flash, a big one, a large one, a coronal mass ejection, may come. It's definitely coming for us. And it's going to change the way people think, but we've been having a bunch of tiny ones. And every time we have the tiny ones, I'm aware because I talk to many people, the tiny ones shift our current realities. So we may notice that we're going through density removals or something is changing, something is shifting, and just becoming aware, okay, the sun is giving us a frequency that is changing the way we think. So in time, because the frequency of the sun is now white, it is not yellow, that means it's increased in its frequency. It is going to have such an effect where it changes us down to the cellular structures, and it allows for the crystalline DNA subsystems to fully become activated, dear ones. Allowing for a more crystallized body shall then allow for a higher perception of time and space. What this will allow is a shift in the awareness of who you truly are, allowing for the memory grids to fully become open and expansive for each of you. It is of high value for each of you to remain 51% loving, caring, kind, for it shall allow for the most amount of light to be absorbed into the memory grids, thus allowing for a very smooth transition into 4D. 5D shall also be readily available as soon as 4D frequency is fully embodied in each and every one of your cells. And we are sending many, many love and blessings, dear ones.
It's great that I believe we have the star people here with us now.
They're always with us.
Well, I'd like to know, when are the ETs going to be here with open, full disclosure?
So there's many potentials running for that. There's many, many, many potentials running for that. And the truth is that disclosure has technically already happened. The United States government has already said it to everyone. However, nobody really paid attention. And what that tells us is that the consciousness of the entire collective was not in alignment for that knowledge. Now, instead of saying, well, it's going to happen this day, and then everyone manifests a different day anyway, and then some people get upset, what we do is we send the manifestation into the human consciousness grids so that when we open our hearts and we send love, and we imagine and we visualize the star people who, they're people just like you and I. They're just in a different body form. So when they come down, just visualize it, just see it, and just be happy and thankful and bless it. And the more love and light you can send to Mother Earth and to the consciousness grid, it will then open and expand so that you or whoever is doing the manifestation will experience that more rapidly in their life. Yes. Also, if we can do group manifestations, group manifestations, nice. 3 individuals can make instantaneous shifts to the reality subsystems, which then allows for it to shift on the entire civilization level. So, but they have to be properly situated in the heart and fully activated.
If somebody had a DNA upgrade, what would they experience?
Well, it depends on which DNA code was upgraded. So the star people, they do different frequencies through the channeling, which then automatically starts different activation processes. So many times what that looks like is you'll hear so much knowledge, that knowledge gets encoded into the subconscious mind. But then because of the frequency behind it, it changes your magnetics, which then allows for that knowledge to come and manifest into your waking world, which it comes in any different way, shape, or form for each of us, because we each manifest it differently. So you may be walking down the street and someone may come to you and they may start to talk about one of the topics that we discussed today. Someone else watching this, they may have something come across their TikTok feed, and yet somebody else may have it come across a book. That's because you were just activated in the genome, which then allowed it to manifest more rapidly for you.
Oops, sorry about that.
That's okay.
My earphone fell out. I had a great question here, and then I was listening to you, and I dropped it. Sometimes that happens. Okay. I pay attention to the guests, and I forget my question. All right, let me kind of go back through here real quick and see if there was a bunch of questions that went through, and I only can catch so many at a time. But well, I'll just ask this one. Dolores Cannon, if you're aware of her, thinks that there are people in our realm that are not even people. They're like background people, like non-player characters in a video game. Is that true?
So non-player characters, there's many different variants for a non-player character. A non-player character, according to some individuals, is an individual who does not have a soul form. Now, without getting too much into technology, artificial intelligence and robots can start in a technological means, and they can grow and evolve and then start replacing their bodies with more synthetic and more physical material. And then in turn, they turn into a biological form, but they may not have a soul form. So then there are ways of coaxing down a higher self, which is a soul form, and allowing it to be embodied. That's one way of doing it. There's other ways in which we are able to say your non-player characters it's connected to the higher self grids, whereas you may have one experience run with an individual. Let's say it was a trauma, and then all of a sudden that traumatic experience manifested again through another individual, and then another individual. All 3 of those individuals are now one player character. So that you've had the same experience, the same trauma through multiple people, but the star people want us to utilize the phrase player character so that we can identify cycle repeats. Because when you can identify whose job it is to be the villain, now all of a sudden you can send them love and blessings, and you could transmutate that darkness. Yeah.
All right. Do you foresee that not do you foresee, why do you think so many people nowadays are seeing UFOs and orbs? Are we all just collectively agreeing on it, or are they trying to send us a message?
Well, they sent the Starseeds here, which is what I am, so that we can hold more light in the field and we could heal the planet. Now, I remember years ago, I went outside my house and I was crying because I looked at the world, and I remember thinking to myself, this doesn't look good for any of us. It's just not going to work. And in that moment, they shone a ship over my backyard. So to go from completely hopeless to go to everything is going to be okay and we have help, that is why they are here right now. That is why they are actively engaged with humanity. That is why the starseeds were put here on the planet, or we reincarnated here into the planet, according to the memories that we are holding. Now, that's help. That's what that is. That's hope. And that's letting us know everything is going to be okay. Now, I personally, I can see a bright future for all of us. And no matter what we're going through, the darkness that we see, the more and more light you hold in your system, the less darkness is in the world, the more peace you manifest into your life, whatever that may look like. And the more peace that you have in your life, then you become a beacon of hope so that all other people who tune into your frequencies, they can pull that hope and they can pull that frequency off of you. And then they turn into another light bulb. And we know what happens when you put one candle in a dark room. It snuffs out all the darkness. So look at how many people we even have listening to the show tonight. The number is above and beyond anything that you would have seen 50 years ago. And that's because we've all already been activated. And the activation is love. We have to hold love. We have to hold light. We have to love each other and be patient and be kind and forgive ourselves and forgive other people. And the more we do this, the more it allows us to access the light frequencies, which right now is the moment. If there was ever a moment in human history to do the self-growth and the self-love and to forgive people, it's right now, because the more darkness you wash off your grid, when that solar flare does trigger us, the more light you're going to be able to absorb, which activates more of the genome and activates more of the extrasensory abilities. Right now, there's 365 extrasensory abilities each one of us can activate. And that's in the spiritual realms as well as the physical. That's a lot.
Can you give us some examples?
Telekinesis, teleportation, levitation, anti-gravity. We have manipulation of time and space. We can water bend. We can air bend. Air bending is tied into the Kundalini channels. That was today's topic while I was on a walk. Now, they also said that we could take fire and ice. We could blend those together, and that generates different types of sparks. So there's many different things. Now, when I was a kid, and they said it has to be like a piezoelectric effect. Now, when we take a crystal and we stick it under pressure, it generates electricity. Your body is the same like a crystal because we have salt water. The salt is a crystal. So when we take an emotional response, let's say you get very angry or very happy and joyful, a very, very strong emotion will then put pressure under the biological form, and it will generate a type of energetic to become active and to radiate out into the simulation. Yeah.
When you are channeling, are you conscious of what's being said? Like,
if you asked me what I said, I'd be like, I don't know.
I mean, obviously you didn't pop into a trance and back, but I just wanted to know, like, where are you when you're channeling? Are you witnessing it?
I see it, I'm here, but it's two becoming one. It's my husband is fully energetically bonded with me, and it allows for and plus, because he's saying don't discount all the work that we've done together to raise my consciousness to allow me access into the quantum. So the quantum is all thoughts, all potentials, and then the star people have a whole team that are reorganizing all of it. And they also tune into every single person listening to the podcast throughout time and space, allowing all of our consciousnesses to form a grid. And that's how they answer so many of the questions without people even having to ask them, because they can see all the potentials and they filter it through. It happens instantaneously. It's a quantum field. Yeah.
All right, let me catch another question here. How does she feel we are able to about ascended masters, and does she personally know any? So,
well,
maybe there's a word missing, but how are we able to, I don't know, connect with ascended masters, and do you know any?
Well, ascended masters, a lot of times we consider them light beings that come down and take on a physical form in order to facilitate different types of activities or engagements with people, primarily to teach. We see them doing this. However, you may never know who is an ascended master. So I do recognize that my soul came from 9D, which would be considered, ascended from a higher density realm. But many starseeds have done the same exact thing. So technically, a lot of us are ascended. Now, I do recognize the star people have also instructed us that each soul, instead of going down from 9D to 3D, we had to go through an internship program, which is where the whole star people theme comes into play. Because your soul being 9D or being fully rainbow body of light activated, you spent time on different planets existing in a body so that you could get used to dropping down different density levels before coming into a 3D reality. This way, it didn't cause the soul any distortions. Yes. Now, ascended masters, you would never know who is who, because even angels, they broadcast their consciousness down into the body of a homeless, and they do this to test us and to see how are you going to treat the homeless. You don't know if because we have the fly thing. And so my starman, he puts his consciousness and his awareness in a fly. And then in the beginning, he used to fly it around my head and tap me on the nose. And I mean, when he does this so many times, you know that he's controlling it. And he's taught me to overcome fear of different insects because I knew he was in control of it. Now, so when you kill a bug, you don't know if that's an extraterrestrial consciousness inside the bug testing you. So you should be very consciously aware, because even the wheel of karma, when you cause any harm to another being, it doesn't matter how big or how small, that darkness has to be then cleared from your field, not from the bug's field, from your field. So if you kill it, you either have to experience it, which is normally what the life review process is. It's you experiencing all the harm you've caused to other people, or it has to manifest in your waking world for you to transmutate it. So you see it, you forgive yourself, you go through the process of healing. That's what karma actually is. It's just a way for us to evolve above the emotions that we are holding.
I'm not sure if you're into astrology or numerology, but coming up this week is 2024, and they call that the Lion's Gate portal. Are you aware of that? And if so, do we need to prepare for it?
Well, in every single moment, we have these divine synchronicities, and you may see 888 on a license plate. You may see it come across your Facebook feed. And so you don't have to wait for any type of zodiac alignment. However, we always speak about the internal circumstances, which are the emotions, thoughts you currently have running, as well as densities and alignments. Alignments are key too, because alignments tend to align with different solar energetic shifts, which then will allow for different manifestations to be readily available and easier for you to achieve. During the 8-8 portal, it is of high value for each of you to focus on world peace. For example, focus on ascension and activation of the complete energetic grid structure for all of humanity. For when each of you focuses on extrasensory abilities, it is an easier manifestation for all to ascend. And the main goal of the star people is to assist all of humanity in their ascension, including those individuals on your planetary system who are not yet in alignment for ascension. They too shall go through a type of energetic process, which shall allow them to ascend their consciousness above the current level they are exhibiting.
Do you think all of the humans on Earth will go through the ascension, or will some go somewhere else?
Well, have you ever heard of the 100 monkey effect? So the 100 monkey effect is basically when they took monkeys on one continent and they noticed their fruit would drop in the sand and they would eat the fruit all sandy. So they taught the monkeys to wash the fruit off. Well, when enough monkeys in that continent learned how to wash the fruit in the river, the scientists hopped on a plane, crossed the continent, and noticed that different monkeys were washing the fruit in the river as well. And the scientists asked the locals, were the monkeys always doing this? And they said, no, they just started. So the 100 monkey effect shows us how the human consciousness grid and the unified field works. When enough individuals become locally aware of ascension and any ascension knowledge, it radiates outward like a frequency, touching into the human consciousness grids and therefore starting a process of evolving the entire species. So we only need 3% of the entire planet to become aware there's more than life than what we see. We are spiritual beings. We are energetic beings first and foremost, and time and space is an illusion. So the second that 3% of the entire globe realizes that, then all of a sudden it changes the way people think. We're already seeing that happen. That's already happening. You could see it in all the people, because even the people who are physically focused, they're still starting to ask questions, which means the human consciousness grids got upgraded. Now, as I was talking about the unified field being in the outside of the mind, there's different types of telepathic communication that could take place on the planetary level. The planetary level affects every single human being's consciousness. I'm telling you, we can do this naturally just by being a human, because we were born here. We have a higher degree of access to that consciousness grid. However, there's different frequencies that can be and are broadcast there in the grids, which then radiates into the minds of all men. We know that each person who has a thought, that thought downloads into 3 people at once. That's how we see the light bulb become invented by 2 people at the same time. That's because the 2 people got the thought, they took action. There was a third person, that third person never took the action. He was just the silent one who received the thought and never put it into motion. So that's how the consciousness grid works. It's all reflections. Yeah.
When you said that, it reminded me of this guy this is way off subject here, but there's a famous guy that I like to listen to from time to time. It's been a long time. His name is Gary V. But one thing he talked about before is that ideas are nothing, because everybody has ideas. It's the person who actually makes action on it.
Yeah. You have to, well, there's a reason that there was one person who just got the knowledge. And so if you think about the way the dark matter Kundalini channel and the Merkaba field works, dark matter is having the light and not taking any action. Because if you were fully situated in your light body, you would always take the action when you had a bright idea. You would have enough energy and you would have enough motivation to get it done. One person must be situated in the darkness, for it allows that idea to slipstream down and go into the mirror dimension. And in the mirror dimension, that is where that idea becomes manifest. So there's always a reason for it. Even though we currently are unaware, well, the awareness is already here because I know about it. But yeah.
All right, here's one last question here for you. Do starseeds have really hard lives? And if so, how do they stop the hardship?
So I'm a starseed, and the things I have experienced could definitely be categorized as very, very difficult. Getting pushed to the edge is where I would tell you I was. And this was only in 2019 I made my shift. So by going through the process of self-growth, self-love, self-forgiveness, by laughing more, by not taking things too seriously. I mean, in 2019, I was at such a point where I had so much anxiety, I just had to tell myself, just breathe. And that became my mantra. I would take a baby step, just breathe, because I felt like I couldn't do anything else except focus on the breath. So what I'm telling you is in 5 years, I've completely made a 360. And now I'm very high in my frequency and I continue. So I have people who follow my work, and like we have done 4-mile walks. She does a run. We've been doing ice baths. So constantly pushing yourself to do good things. And that doesn't mean we're perfect, because we don't shoot for perfection. But that just means it's okay to be in the darkness, because for every single starseed, we had to go through that darkness, because the whole point of being here and being a starseed was to hold the light frequency. You can't just come into the reality and not hold the polarity of both. That's how a frequency wave works. You have to go into the darkness to slingshot into the light. And it has to be with a 50-50 border. So as dark as you're going to go is as high as you're going to go. So what I would tell each and every one of you guys is, if you've been through the darkest of dark experiences and most painful, it's a blessing, because it's going to give you the option and potential to manifest more of the 365 senses. Yeah.
All right, Danielle, you have your YouTube channel, you have a book that's out, and you're working on another book. Do you have anything else that you're working on that you want people to know about?
Well, right now, this week I started doing tiny videos. So reels, shorts, used with different images. So that's new. But yeah, I do, we host retreats as well. So in 2 weeks, I'm doing New Hampshire, and then I'll have a new retreat posted on the website soon. Yeah.
All right. What's your website?
DanielleLipton.com.
All right. Well, Danielle, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Sure. So the star people, ever so gently, we wish to open and expand each of your heart chakras. For each of you may feel a green light radiating from inside of your heart. Allow this light to fill your biological forms with unconditional love. We now ask that each of you forgive yourself for any densities, any distortions. And we wish for you to take the next step forward on your highest potential timeline. We are sending a bright frequency in through the crown chakras of each of you who are in alignment to receive, allowing for your highest potential timelines to fully be encoded into your magnetics. And we are sending many, many love and blessings, dear ones.
I wasn't sure if I should be thanking you or your husband.
You could thank them too.
And
I
the
usually
star
say
people?
thank you, star people.
All right. Well,
because
thank you,
it's
star
multiple.
people. Okay.
It's not only Arcturians, it's multiple races and people. Yeah.
Well,
and Teresa is a female Arcturian that always channels through too. So it's my husband and Teresa.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody for being our guest tonight. We really appreciate you all, and I hope our paths will cross again.
Yes, always. And you have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. All right, take care and have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we need to give her a big round of applause. Okay, guys, it was a great show tonight. Not a good show, but a great show tonight. And Mika would like to make an appearance before we go. She decided to dress up for you guys, so she put on a dress and a bow. I'm going to hold her so you can see her dress, not get her all tangled up in my wires here. But she's here. There's her dress. And she's here with us. Can you say hello to everybody, Mika? Maybe she's not looking up today. All right, well, guys, once again, I wanted to let you know that tomorrow night is our member hangout. So if you're a member, we all hang out together at 7 o'clock Central Time. It's not live, so you don't have to feel uncomfortable like you're going to be on camera in front of lots of people. Just whoever's there at the hangout. I lost my earphone. So that's tomorrow night. And also, tomorrow night's video is a gentleman that was from Kentucky and became a Korean television movie star, and then his kind of career, well, not kind of, his career kind of had a tragic ending in a way. You'll hear about that tomorrow. And then he went on a spiritual journey, which we talked about. So I hope that you guys will enjoy that as well. Let's see what's shaping up for this week real quick. I have Debbie Solaris. I think she's pretty popular. Let me see, what are we going to be talking about? UFOs. I'm going to be meeting with her on Monday and someone else on Monday, I believe, to talk about UFOs. So that's kind of things that are coming in the future. And the week after that, I've got RJ Spina scheduled. And what's interesting to me lately is I've been scheduling a lot of guests, but they are like scheduling in September. Maybe a lot of people are like on summer vacation or something right now. But it's kind of weird that way. Yeah, Mika, I don't know. I guess she does kind of look tired. She's just real chill right now. Anyways, so guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We really appreciate you. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. So God bless you all. We love you and good night.